In this video, I'm going to share with you part 2 of my movie collection tour in 2021. Hey, it's me AP and welcome back to another video, and this is part 2 of my movie collection tour, sharing with you all the movies in my cabinet here behind me, which features on all of my videos. So part 1 we went through a bunch of like DVDs where a lot of them were like miscellaneous, and we have the classic collections and a few TV shows. And this time we're going to go through like my comic book collection and some of the sci-fi movies in the collection here. So we're going to go through two of the top and the second to top shelves here. And one thing I didn't really mention on the first video on part 1 is everything in this collection is DVDs. First of all, I only collect DVDs, and I've mentioned this on videos. I enjoy collecting DVDs. I still think they look great for me watching movies. I get a lot of enjoyment out of them. And what I will also say is a lot of these were not purchased from the shops. You know, a lot of these were like car boots over here. We have like car boot sales from like charity shops here, Goodwill shops. Sure, I bought over the years the odd few at full price. I definitely have. I'm not going to say I haven't over the years. But I'd say the majority of the collection is from like second-hand purchases, and I think if you can get something cheap, especially DVDs now, they're super cheap, and if you can get enjoyment out of them, it's just a thumbs up from me. So that's just a bit more of like sort of detail to where my collection comes from, and I think now's the right time to let's take a look at the collection. So as I said, we're going to start here with the top shelf, which is all of my comic book and superhero movies. We start off here with Superman, the Superman collection, and then that's Christopher Reeve movies, and then we have Man of Steel. This is sort of like the DC shelf here, so we got a lot of the DC movies going on in this shelf. I'm a huge DC fan. I really like DC movies. Especially what they're doing more recently. I'm really enjoying what they're doing now. I feel like they've got their own groove with the DC movies. I do hope they continue like the Snyderverse. It would be good to see that happen. More of that sort of like develop. But I'm glad to see they're doing like sort of like the Flash movie coming up. But here we've got the Superman movies. Then we've got the Batman collection. We've got the Michael Keaton movies. We have the Batman and Robin as well, and Batman Forever as well, the Val Kilmer, and what's his face? Let's grab it out. I can't remember his name. How can I not? George Clooney. George Clooney. I've got the case out. But yeah, we got this collection here. Great collection of movies. I've said it before. I suppose the first two are my favourites here out of these, but I still have a place in my heart for the Batman Forever and Batman and Robin movies. For the reason being is, when I grew up with watching these movies. These were my Batman movies. Probably more so even with the Batman and Robin and Batman Forever. They were kind of like my Batman movies growing up as a kid. And I would watch the Keaton ones, but I suppose I watched the George Clooney one probably more so. And I know a lot of people like to take a dump on that movie, especially Batman and Robin. I don't think it's as bad as everyone makes out. I think it's just in its own genre of Batman movie. It's kind of like the old TV show, isn't it? That's got its own style, its own genre, its own place in Batman history, and that's what I feel with Batman and Robin. It's just got its own place in Batman history, and it's different from like the Dark Knight trilogy, but it's still a good movie in my opinion to watch. Next up then though, we've got the Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises, the Batman Dark Knight trilogy, a great trilogy by Christopher Nolan. I suppose the standout for me has got to be The Dark Knight. I'm sure this is the same case for most people. This is a beautiful DVD cover as well. I like the sort of like I remember someone mentioning what these covers are called. I can't remember the name now though, but it's where they sort of like they like got this like holographic sort of like feel to it, and they shine. Really cool. I like the look of it. It's a 2-disc special edition. I've enjoyed watching, especially on Batman Begins and The Dark Knight. The behind the scenes stuff on these movies is great. When you see the miniature builds, so I know on the Batman Begins one, they built like a lot of the Gotham City set was all like miniature set. It was like miniatures, like small, like miniature like builds. And I think they did the same for the van chase on this, on the Dark Knight. I believe that they use like micro controllable RC cars, and they just made it it look like it was like a real car, and that's really intriguing to me. I really find it interesting. I love it when they use miniatures in movies as well. I think it's cool, but when you see the behind the scenes, it's just so awesome to me to watch. I've always been a fan of behind the scenes stuff, BTS stuff. This one is a great one to get hold of, just to check out the behind the scenes, to see how the movie's made. It's fantastic. Next up, we have Crisis on Infinite Earths. It's a show, one of my recent purchases really from Amazon, that one. I really enjoyed it. I've got to be honest, I think I'm one episode away from watching it. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure I've not watched it all yet, but I'm enjoying it. What I've watched, I've just not got around to watching it all yet. Then we have Watchmen. I'm a huge fan of the graphic novel Watchmen, and I like the movie as well. I watched the movie first, and then I read the graphic novel a few years later after enjoying this movie so much. It's a great movie. I know it's got its fans, it's got its people who do not like this movie because they say it's not faithful to the graphic novel. I think it really shows off the good points of the graphic novel, and I think it's a good adaptation. I think it's a really good adaptation of the graphic novel. I enjoy it. I like Zack Snyder's movies as well. I'm not going to lie, I like his movies, and Watchmen is a good movie. I think it's a great movie. Next up, we have the two Judge Dredd movies, the Stallone one, and then the one with the guy out of The Boys in. What's his name? It is Carl Urban, that's it. I think, for me, the first Judge Dredd with Stallone is my favourite, just because it's pure nostalgia. I love watching that as a kid, but I do like Dredd. Dredd's one I watched initially. I wasn't super keen on it, and it's one I watched over and over again, and the more I watched it, I really enjoyed it. It was a great viewing. I know there's been talk for like sequels, TV spin-offs. We still have nothing, but we do have the Dredd movie, which is good to watch. Well worth a watch. Next up, Green Lantern. I don't think it's as bad as people make out. I think it's definitely not the best superhero movie of all time. Definitely not the best comic book adaptation. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to say it's the best thing since sliced bread, but it's an okay movie. You know, it's something fun to watch. I like Ryan Reynolds. It's a cool movie to watch. Then we have the X-Men movies, the quadrilogy here. So we got 4 of the X-Men movies, all thrown into one collection, which is cool. It saves on space as well, which is awesome. And then we have the First Class movie, and then Days of Future Past. The sequels, that new trilogy of movies, or maybe, is it trilogy? No, I think there was 4 movies, wasn't it? It was a Dark Phoenix as well. Look, I like the first 2. I thought Days of Future Past and the First Class movie were great. Apocalypse kind of went a bit downhill, and Dark Phoenix was just trash. I suppose, you know, Apocalypse wasn't as bad. Apocalypse was quite good, actually. It was a middle of the road one. But from First Class and Days of Future Past, which were both beautiful films, the other 2 just really went downhill for me. And I don't have them other ones in the collection. I've not picked them up yet, but I will pick them up eventually. I will add them to the collection because I like having my comic book movies in here. Then we've got the Wolverine and Logan movies. I enjoyed both of them. I suppose the one notable mention here would be Logan. I think it's a fantastic film. It's probably slowly creeping up into my top 10 of movies of all time, Logan. It is a fantastic film. A brilliant acting performance from Hugh Jackman. I like the story. I like this aged Logan we see in this. It's just a great movie, isn't it? I really enjoy it. I didn't like it on first viewing, which is strange. I think that's the thing with me. I think some movies I watch on the first view and I don't like, and then after a few watches, then they become my favourite movies. So maybe that's a clue. Do you know, if I watch a movie the first time I don't like it, that could be in my top 10 of all time at some point. Logan is definitely there. And the Wolverine is just as good. It's a good movie, but I think Logan is the better of the 2. Next up, we've got the Incredible Hulk movie. I don't think it was the worst Marvel movie, but it was early days, wasn't it? Early days of Marvel, and it's definitely, the Marvel Cinematic Universe has definitely improved since that first movie. Then we've got the Iron Man trilogy. The first two are the best. The first one is a standout favourite for me. A great movie. Iron Man 3 is trash, and I've mentioned this before. It is absolute garbage, and I don't know why it's in the collection. Maybe this is time to get rid of this, and you know, I'm gonna take you down, Iron Man 3. I'm gonna take you down and take you out, brother. I don't know what, I kind of just like, I don't know what voice I was doing. It went from something weird, some weird voice to Hulk Hogan. That's where I should have started off. I had Hulk Hogan's voice in my head. Let me tell you something, brother. Iron Man 3 is absolute garbage, brother. I'm gonna throw this out, and I'm gonna lay a smack down on it. That's The Rock, isn't it? I think it was maybe starting out as The Rock. Sorry for my stupid impressions. I do apologise. So yeah. So anyway, I didn't even mention we've started already on the MCU, the Marvel. Well, not the MCU. We're in the Marvel side of things now. We're past DC, and it started with the X-Men ones, but we're in Marvel now. And after that, we've got the Captain America movie. We've got Thor. We've got Thor 2, The Dark World. Ant-Man, Guardians of the Galaxy, and then Avengers Assemble, and that's where it finishes. Well, we got Blade. The Blade collection is, again, that's part of Marvel as well. And look, two standouts to me are Guardians of the Galaxy. I remember watching this at the cinema and just being blown away. I liked the trailers beforehand. It was just, it looked exciting. It looked like something fresh. The way they were going on about this cosmic side of the MCU, going into space, really intrigued me. And they nailed it with this movie. It was a great movie. And the Avengers Assemble. To see this first time ever big team-up movie of superheroes, this was the blockbuster we all wanted to see. This was the blockbuster they delivered on, and they delivered on it, ladies and gents. This, I think the Avengers movies have got better over time, but this was where it all started. This is the one where it blew out of the park. You know, seeing that moment when you see them all together in New York, and you hear that dun 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 dun. It's great, and you see that the panning around of them all, and you see like Bruce Banner turn into Hulk, and he says like, "You wanna know why?" He says like, "I'm always angry," and it's great. Great movie history moments. I love it. This is why I love talking about movies. But the Blade collection, I like the Blade first two movies. The third one is not great, but still, they are movies well worth checking out. Next up, we've got the Kick-Ass movies, the two Kick-Ass movies. I really enjoy the Kick-Ass movies. I think they're both equally as good as one another. I would love to see more from that universe of movies eventually. Even if it's like a Hit Girl series or a Hit Girl spin-off movie. Something like that. I think it'd just be cool to see more of that universe of characters as well. It'd be really cool. But I really like the Kick-Ass movies. And then we're going to finish it off with two notable mentions again. Zack Snyder movies, 300 and Dawn of the Dead. Dawn of the Dead is a spin-off. It's a spin-off. It's not a spin-off. It's a remake of the original Dawn of the I'm getting tongue twisted, tongue-tied. It's a remake of the original Dawn of the Dead movie, but Zack Snyder just nailed it. And I'm pretty sure James Gunn, who is the director of Guardians of the Galaxy, wrote the movie. Let me just check this. I may be wrong, but let's see. Tyler Bate, who is screenplay by James Gunn. How unique is that? You know, we got Zack Snyder, James Gunn, and this is the coming together story. You know, they coming together project. This is great. Great movie. 300 is an equally as good movie, but Dawn of the Dead is just a standout for me in this movie collection here. One movie, I'm not a huge horror guy. I get a bit scared sometimes. I'm not ashamed to admit that. But Dawn of the Dead is one I can kind of handle, and it's one I really enjoy watching. So next, we're going to go down to the sci-fi shelf of movies, and sci-fi action. These are my favourite types of movies, but let's start off with the sci-fi. Action is on a different shelf. Sci-fi is on this shelf. And we start off with Star Trek. Star Trek movie, the two movies, I know they've done three, but I've not picked up the third one as of yet. The J.J. Abrams movies, I was never someone who watched the original TV show, so I don't have like that special place for Star Trek, and I never had that special place. It was always Star Wars for me, but these are ones, when I seen the trailers for that first Star Trek reboot movie with J.J. Abrams directing, it was just it changed the game, and it changed my perspective, my outlook of what Star Trek is, and then I watched it, it was just a breathtaking movie, a really good movie to watch. It sort of redefined what Star Trek is to me, in my opinion, and I feel like in a way it's also changed the way Star Trek. It's changed the way Star Trek is perceived by people. It's also changed what Star Trek has now become. I feel like the TV shows have become, what I've seen of the TV shows, they've went for more like sci-fi action. And maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like the old Star Trek was more like sort of like all to do with science and sort of like clever thinking, clever mastery, and being more like tactician-like. Whereas this new era of Star Trek is a bit more like scientific action. And I think these two films, especially Into Darkness and the first one, are both great movies. And then we have the Planet of the Apes trilogy here, the new ones, the Rise, Dawn, and War for the Planet of the Apes. One of my probably favourite trilogies now of all time. I think it's definitely, probably my favourite. I think, I look at like the Dark Knight trilogy, and I think that is a great trilogy, but I feel like the third one lets it down slightly for me. But that trilogy of movies, that story, is just a great story from start to finish, and I don't feel like it dips at all. I feel like it's definitely got some stronger points in it and the stronger parts, and maybe the third one is the strongest movie, but I feel like they're all telling of a great trilogy. And maybe I'm going to actually backtrack here. Let's say it's level with another trilogy. It's level with another trilogy that I will mention in a few moments' time. So maybe it isn't the best of all time, maybe it's joint best of all time with another trilogy. Then we have the Men in Black trilogy here, the ones with Will Smith and with Tommy Lee Jones as well. The first Men in Black movie for me is just the best movie, one of my best favourite films of all time. I've mentioned it on the channel, especially with the scene with the table when he's doing his training scene. I think that scene is super funny, super silly. It's a hilarious scene. Will Smith is great in that movie. But the trilogy it's got a great start. The middle was a bit flat for me, but the third one was also equally as good. So the first and the third one are great. I wasn't massively keen on the reboot they've done recently. I feel like it could have been a lot better. But I hope we do see more of the Men in Black franchise over time. But these ones, they're just they're entertaining movies for the whole family. They're not super heavy, are they? They're sci-fi movies though, but they're not heavy sci-fi. Next up we have The Butterfly Effect. I think it's a good movie. The Butterfly Effect. It's not one I'd watch all the time, but it's one I would recommend. Then we got the original Jurassic Park trilogy of movies. For years I couldn't watch Jurassic Park because I had the idea of dinosaurs really scared me. And it's not that I didn't like the movies. I liked the movies, and I watched them as a kid. And it was just, I don't know, there was a certain period where I couldn't watch them because I felt like panicked. I felt panicked by the dinosaurs, and I've got past that now. I've got past that sort of like that fear of watching them, the dinosaurs. But I especially the when they have the actual physical dinosaurs, and they use a combination of CGI and physical props, and the CGI animatronic sort of dinosaurs. I think they look really scary, and still to this day I feel like I do find them like very intimidating. And for years I didn't watch them, but I do enjoy the Jurassic Park trilogy. I like the Jurassic World movies as well. I think they're good. I'm looking forward to seeing the third one in the Jurassic World franchise, because I know they're sort of bringing back more of the original cast from the original movie, which is cool. But great movies, Jurassic Park. I really enjoy them. Next up, we have again. So I mentioned the great trilogy of Planet of the Apes movies, the new ones. And I said it is the greatest trilogy of all time, but I feel like it is joint with another one. And that is, here it is, a notable mention, Back to the Future. The Back to the Future trilogy is a perfect trilogy. I think it's equally, oh god, it's tight, isn't it? What's better, Back to the Future or the Planet of the Apes trilogy? Some will be just saying Back to the Future. I understand that, but I do like the Planet of the Apes as well. It's a tough one. I can't decide. It's so tough because they're very different movies, aren't they? They're very different. But in a sci-fi genre, sci-fi comedy, it is just such a unique movie. Time travel's been done a ton of times since this movie. But this is the best time travel movie of all time for me. Best time travel movie. They just do it perfectly. And it's going to be something that's going to be looked at for years to come, movie history. I think the way people look at like Citizen Kane, I think people for years to come will look at Back to the Future as one of those just fantastic, one-of-a-kind trilogy and individually as movies as well. They work great individually. Obviously, you have to follow the story along, but they are great individual movies as well. It's not just like it's a great trilogy. They're all independently very good movies. Next up, we have the Matrix trilogy. The first one I like. The second two, I give or take. I'm not like a huge fan. I know they're doing more of these now, but I'm not like a massive fan of the Matrix. I wouldn't say it's something I would jump to see. But next up, we have in the collection Masters of the Universe. You know the channel. You know I'm a big fan of Masters of the Universe. Here in the studio, I've got like my figurines of He-Man and Skeletor. Skeletor, He-Man. I'm looking forward to the new show as well. Revelation, that'd be awesome. But for me, this is, when I think of Masters of the Universe, some people look at the cartoon. For me, it has always been this movie. The Dolph Lundgren movie with Frank Langella as Skeletor, Dolph as He-Man. It's a 80s movie. It is, some people like it, some people don't. Some people say it's trash. Some say it's a cult classic. I'm of the opinion that it is a cult classic movie. It is very different, I would say, from the TV show, from the animated show. It's sort of like in its own sort of like universe, its own Masters of the universe. But it is a great. I just think it's a good sci-fi movie. It's got a bit of like the feel of like a Star Wars to it, a bit of a Flash Gordon, and I like it. I like the music in it. I like the story. I like it doesn't take itself too seriously. I like the action scenes. I like they've got the classic. You know, I think Skeletor is a perfect villain. He's a great villain. Frank Langella really does that character justice in this, and it's great. I just really enjoy watching Masters of the Universe. If you're into Masters of the Universe like me, check out. I've done a video called Movies for Not Knowers, where I just explore this movie in detail and sort of like go through the history of this movie, which is really interesting. So definitely check that out. And also, I've done a Masters of the Universe quiz, movie quiz, which is well worth checking out as well. If you're into quizzes, check it out. It's on the channel, so definitely worth checking out. Next up, John Carter of Mars. Great movie. This is one my brother-in-law recommended this many times. I sort of put it off. Watched it. I thought this was great. Great movie by Disney. I think they were hoping this movie was going to be, well, it says here, Star Wars for a new generation. This was before we see the reboots of the Star Wars films, the reboot trilogy, before Disney owned Star Wars. And I think they had the eggs in the basket of maybe John Carter being maybe not a Star Wars, a bigger Star Wars, but maybe being that sort of like the sci-fi property. And I feel like that was the same with another movie I'm going to come up to in a second. But I feel like they had a bit more belief in John Carter. They wanted it to be a big movie, big box office movie, but it didn't really do that well at the box office. And we never seen the sequels, and I know there's tons of books out there, but it's unfortunate we never got to see sequels to this movie, because it's a great sci-fi movie. I like the character, I like the world. It's just a fantasy sci-fi film, which I like. And that's why it reminds me of Star Wars, and I think that's why it was bigged up as this like new Star Wars, because it's like John Carter is like the hero. He's kind of like a Luke Skywalker hero-like character, and then he's going to this weird place, weird new planet, and he's just a hero, and I like it. It's a shame they didn't do any more. It is a shame that we never got to see more from the John Carter character in the Disney universe. But next up we have the Blade Runner, the original Blade Runner, the final cut. I really like that movie. I think it's a great movie. It's one I would watch initially, and I couldn't really get it in my head, but then I watched it maybe more as an adult, and I really enjoyed that movie. And then we got the Arnold Schwarzenegger in The Running Man. Great film, a bit cheesy at times, but I think the cheesiness of that movie fits in with the action really, really well. It's Stallone. It's not Stallone. It's Arnie in his prime of movies, with the likes of Total Recall, Terminator. I think it's up there with like Terminator 2, T2, Running Man, and Total Recall are some of my favourite Arnie movies. Predator, obviously, as well, and Commando. But great movies. And then we've got Interstellar. I really enjoy Christopher Nolan's movies. I think Interstellar is a really good film. Really good sci-fi movie as well. I think it's not one I would watch over and over again, but it is one. It's an interesting one. It makes you think. It makes you think a lot, and that's what I like about Interstellar. Let me shift around. I'm going to have to shift around here because we're getting to this side of the collection now. Next up, we have Tron. Now, Tron is another one from Disney, and I feel like this is another one like John Carter, where they were putting the eggs in the basket for Tron to be, it's a reboot of the franchise. We had the original Tron movie, Tron Legacy. Feels like they were trying to maybe make a big universe of films and make something new here, and it never quite happened. We never got to see any more from the Tron universe, but it's a good film. I love this film, actually. I think the soundtrack's amazing from Daft Punk. It's an interesting story. I like the elements. I like the visuals of this. It's altogether one of my favorite movies. I love Tron Legacy. I think it's fantastic. Next up, we go to a monster movie, but I feel like it's deserving of being on a sci-fi shelf, because Godzilla is very much in the world of sci-fi to me. It's sci-fi. It's sci-fi action. So that's why Godzilla is in the reboot of the Godzilla movies. So next up, we have Galaxy Quest in the collection here, and Galaxy Quest is kind of like, it's not like a full-on parody, but like sort of like a kind of parody of like Star Trek. We got these TV show characters, and then you see the real actors then get thrown into this actual real life Star Trek like situation. It's a really funny movie. When I think of parodies, though, I do think like Spaceballs is like a full-on parody, whereas Galaxy Quest has like parody elements, but it's its own film as well. It's a really good comedy sci-fi film, but well worth checking out, Galaxy Quest. Inception, then, we have another Leonardo DiCaprio movie, Christopher Nolan movie. Great visuals, great ensemble cast, great soundtrack. Inception is a fantastic film that I really do enjoy. Then we have Pacific Rim. It's a movie that it's not one. Well, two movies here, Pacific Rim and Looper. Both movies I enjoy, but I wouldn't watch them all the time. But I feel like they're good enough to be on my shelf of sci-fi movies, because I do enjoy them when I watch them. And although they're not my favourites, they are ones I would enjoy watching. Then we move over to Total Recall. Again, another great Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, Total Recall. I know I know this has recently been sort of like re-released at cinemas, and it's a terrific movie. I really enjoy this film. A great prime Arnold Schwarzenegger film, Total Recall. Then we have Star Trek, the movie, what started like the TV show. I never really got into the TV show, but I felt like the cast of Kurt Russell and James Spader in the film was fantastic, and it's a shame we never got to see those characters, those actors take on them roles in the TV show because they were recast. But then we have Oblivion, which is a great Tom Cruise movie. I've mentioned it a few times on the channel. The Time Machine, another great, fantastic sci-fi film, a remake of the original. I've never seen the original, but the remake is superb. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I'm a big fan of the books. I'm a big fan of that movie. I think it's a great, classic British sci-fi film. Great cast and just a great, funny family film. You know, it's film for everyone. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Then we have the Terminator quadrilogy, which features T1, T2, Terminator 3, and Salvation. I think Salvation and T1 and 2 are both fantastic movies. Terminator 3 is a bit of a letdown for me. And then we have Prometheus and the Alien Collection and Predator. I like the first couple of Alien movies. Prometheus is great, and the first two Predator movies are great. The team-up ones, Alien vs Predator, are not fantastic in my opinion. I think they're a bit of a letdown, but you know what? They can't all be winners, can they, these movies? If you enjoyed this video today, please do give it a like and check out the rest of my movie-related content as well. And let me know your thoughts on my collections here, the sci-fi and the comic book collection. Did you enjoy them? Do you think anything should be added to these collections? What did you like? What didn't you like? Let me know all your thoughts. And thank you very much for watching this video as always. And I will see you next time.